Good morning, all. I think we can go ahead and get started here. I want to thank you all for attending this first in a monthly series about the virtual job fair platform on Illinois WorkNet for our workforce partners. And so during these monthly sessions, you may request demonstrations of different virtual job fair features, discuss best practices, your role, your experience with this tool and with your customers, and ask any questions you might have about this. For this first session, however, I would like to have a couple of our partners from different regions speak about their experience with the multiple employer events that they've held with multiple employers who are currently hiring in Illinois. And, it's my hope after hearing from them that, others who have not held a VJF through WorkNet will want to schedule and coordinate a event in your LWIA with, our staff at SIU. So I think we can get right into this. I don't see Kindy on the call, but Dave Swanson is here from the Cook County Bureau of Economic Development. Thank you, Dave. And additionally, Tanya Cody Robinson has also joined us, and she is with the Chicago Cook Workforce Partnership. And additionally, Dawn Mushel from the Troy, Maryville, St. Jacob Marine Chamber of Commerce is unable to attend this morning's session, but she has provided answers to questions that are going to be asked. So we'll also be hearing about their event as well. So with the first question, Dave, if you want to field this, what were your expectations leading up to the virtual job fair event that you had?
Sure. Yeah, thanks, David. My organization is the same actually as Tanya Cody Robinson. I'm from the Chicago Cook Workforce Partnership also. And we are up in Cook County. We just tried, Tanya and I both tried, I think for our first time, the VJF capabilities from the SIU team. And honestly, my first time, I wasn't quite sure what to expect when I got into it. But we wanted to hold a multi-employer event. We wanted to do it for the manufacturing industry, at least for the event I worked with. And we immediately ran into the problem of what platform to use. And I don't know if we can do this. And, isn't there anyone out there who knows how to do this? And that's how we realized that we probably ought to be reaching out to the folks at WorkNet because we know about this page and we know that you guys had set this up. But for our first experience, I honestly did not know what to expect. So I'd be happy to talk more about it, about what did happen once we get to it.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Dave. Tanya, would you, if you want to answer that question, what coming into the event, what were your expectations?
My expectations are the same as my colleagues, Dave. Pretty much, we really didn't know what to expect, but we were excited about adding a virtual aspect to blend in our talent pool, being that we're doing all of our work virtually, right? So I was excited. It was the field of unexpectations, but along with everything that we do in workforce, we're always pivoting, right? So in my instance, I was recruiting for our agencies, WIA-funded agencies for their support staff, as well as for contact tracing positions. So, and then we also had some external partners. So mine was for workforce practitioners in short. So I really didn't know what to expect, but I knew that if we connected the pieces together, that it was going to be an awesome experience. And at the end, I'm glad that we did participate and use this platform for the purpose.
Excellent, thank you. And yeah, to Dawn had echoed the very same expectations going into this event. So the next question we have, can you speak to the level of involvement of staff from your office in coordinating with businesses, job seekers, marketing, and so forth leading up to that event? Dave or Kindy? I see Kindy, you're on now. Either one of you want to answer that one?
Yeah, I'll go first if that's okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm Kindy Kruller. I'm the apprenticeship navigator for EDR4 and had the opportunity to work with David Garvey and the team to set up our multi-employer virtual job fair. And, I'm sorry I joined late, but this morning, but it was a great opportunity for us to just showcase this tool and to showcase this tool in particular to employers, because we were, as the navigator for EDR4, really encouraged by DCO earlier this summer to promote this virtual job fair tool, to have employers set up booths. And I was able to, work on several of those booths and starting to get employers on the virtual job fair site. But this was another kind of bigger push in terms of trying to get employers to commit to a virtual job fair, which we had, significant, positivity from employers. They are still looking for a wide variety of talent, and Dave Swanson has an awesome team that was able to secure a wide variety of employers and job types. And then I would just say that, setting up the booth was something that I did, and but we've been able to, transition some of those job fair booths to the employers themselves. And I've already, had the chance to give that feedback, but I just think it's just a great tool. And once we were able to engage the employers and just show them what we're able to do, I think they were all really impressed and had a positive experience.
Thank you, Kindy. Tanya, about the level of involvement of staff from your office in coordinating this event.
Well, we had ours, as you know, it kind of picked up and went really, really quick. So there were about 3 of us working on this within our office, but we really wanted to know the bells and the whistles of the system. So our level of involvement was involving in some of our other work, and we were trying to figure out how we could align some of our current systems into what was in place currently with Illinois workNet. So we had about 3 people within our office, but we were working with Dave and everybody else in the team with our needs in terms of integrating the system. We were also involved in the pilot, but as Cindy mentioned, once we got, I did a lot of the manual work myself because I wanted to get an understanding, but I see where there's more handoff to the employer, and I'm seeing a lot of involvement from the employer in those same aspects because they want to know how to be involved, especially in the virtual aspect. So there was involvement, there was a lot of curiosity, and there was a lot of rewards at the end, so positive outcomes.
Excellent, thank you. And Dawn Mushel had said for the event that took place, they used direct phone calls and Zoom meetings to collect the 8 businesses that participated in that event. And after going through that, she said she didn't think it would take quite as much work now that she knows, she's experienced the event and knows how that goes. And some of the local organizations promoted the event to get the word out to job seekers as well. And so our next question, Kindy, you can talk a little bit about how your event went.
Sure. And I'm sorry, I realized I didn't answer your question fully. It was quite a bit of work for us, but I would say it was a chance for, I think if we will do it again, if we do it again, I think it was just that learning curve. But I think having multiple organizations work on this job fair was really helpful. So between myself at the Bureau of Economic Development Dave at the Chicago Cook Workforce Partnership, and then the SIU team as kind of being the main conveners, and then all of the business service team, delegate agencies from the partnership. It really kind of distributed that work around. If I had to do it by myself, though, I think it would not have been as successful. So I would really encourage folks who are thinking about doing this or launching one of these to find, a way to both expand your network and partner with other agencies on this kind of event. I think overall, so that was my last comment on your previous question, and then this question on how it went. I think it went great. We had, a good group of convening partners. So again, SIU as the kind of the lead of the technical side, Dave in charge of the from the partnership, in charge of the businesses and the main kind of candidate outreach, and then myself just trying to keep things just trying to more of a cheerleader than anything, like, we can do this. And because it was kind of after seeing this tool and following up with SIU and DCO, really making sure that this is something that we can do and we should do, and be using this tool. So just trying to make sure that that advice and encouragement I was giving was really true, and it was. So anyways, I think the employers had a good experience, and we had a couple employers follow up with the DCO SIU team so they could have their own job fairs. We also, just through all of our marketing, had a chance to promote this tool. And then lastly, I think it was just a good opportunity for all of the delegate agencies, for myself and my team, and then for Dave and his team to understand how this tool works, and we can just continue to promote it to the businesses and the partners in our region. So overall, I think it was a great success.
Thank you, Kendi. Tanya, how did your event go?
Our event went amazingly well, and I agree with what Kendi said. We could not have done it without the team at SIU. It was phenomenal. It seemed like they were working with us long hours. And we started off with a lower number, and we exceeded the number. And in terms of marketing, within a partnership, we had a email and a text campaign for job seekers who are in our talent pipeline, and we launched it at the right time, whereas our enrollment, our registration went from 3 on Monday or on Tuesday, from 59 until 350, and we created a waiting list after that. So I'm still connecting with the registration list that was provided post-event, and I'm following up with those job seekers, and I'm connecting them to other events such as my colleague's Dave event. And we had another one at Westfield Old Orchard Mall. So other than job seekers having to start over and do it over, we're creating this environment of virtual job fairs and other resources and opportunities that's available via the Illinois WorkNet platform. So thank you. Ours went very well.
Yeah, thank you, Tanya. Yeah, that registration number was pretty amazing to see, because I think we were about to reach out and express our concerns with the attendance, but then, yeah, those marketing efforts really boosted the turnout, and that was great. Dawn had said, for their event, that it went very well, and no one would have known that it was the first one that they were doing. The moderator did a wonderful job of moving things along and kept things flowing. The employers were happy with their experience, with that also being the first type of event that they had attended. So the next question here, Kendi, did you have any reservations about participating in a virtual job fair event like this? And if so, how were those addressed leading up to it or during the event?
Well, I've never done it before. I've only saw the tool and was explained the tool, like I mentioned early on, as a navigator, that apprenticeship navigator, that DCO was really encouraging us to promote this tool to our businesses. And so and then the multi-employer, job fair. So, we had a couple demos with the SIU staff. We talked through it. You guys agreed that we could do it, and I just was pushing my team because one of the bigger team, I would say, because one of the issues I think that we have as smaller kind of departments or organizations is we don't necessarily have this kind of software and tools and formula, if you will, to put on an event like this. Because what we don't have, I mean, we can all, plan a Zoom call and do breakout rooms, but I really do think that this kind of foundation of the employer booth and having, that being kind of a permanent landing spot for job seekers to go back to and for employers to continue to set up, and just being a part of this overall ecosystem for job seekers and employers is really important. So, I think the reservation I had was we just had never done it before. We had never worked as a team, like I mentioned before. So that was new. But I think, we just all stayed positive and we all gave really good suggestions. I don't know if there'll be an opportunity to share this, but we did have a waiting room. And Deb Lawrence from BCS was like, well, you need waiting room music. And I was like, really? I do? We do? And she's like, yep. And so sure enough, we had some slideshow. We put a slideshow together and then had music, and it just created, again, more of this like new normal of just being able to create and cultivate an event for job seekers and employers that was high quality. And, of course, I think there's things we can, improve and do maybe a little bit differently next time. But for our first time with this team on this format, and working with these employers, I thought it was just really good. So there were reservations. There was a couple moments where some of the delegate agencies were, messaging me and just saying, are you sure we should do this? And how's it all going to work? And I'm like, I just think it's all going to work. So there was, a little bit of this leap of faith, but it all came together, and we're really glad about that.
Excellent, thank you. And with should mention that that event a couple weeks back, that was the first time that our staff had used breakout rooms to have employers meet one-on-one with job applicants. So, they presented in the first portion, and then we moved to the second portion with about 8 to 10 employers in breakout rooms. And with our first time being that, we would like to accommodate those one-on-one sessions, but due to our staff and Zoom's features, there really is only one staff member who can kind of moderate and be in control of the breakout room assignments. But yeah, after, like Kindy had said, after going through that, we did think of ways that we can improve upon those processes. Tanya, did you have any reservations about participating in the event? And if so,
Yeah.
how are those addressed?
Well, time I felt wasn't on our side because we had so many other projects that we were juggling, and we were integrating our processes into the virtual job fair process. So I had a few reservations there, but I had the encouragement of my team, so I kept going. And being a sports mom, I'm like, we're just going to go for it. I kind of laughed when Kendi mentioned about the music with the breakout rooms, because I really, really wanted the breakout rooms. But I know that moving forward that we'll have that feature. But in what she mentioned with Deb Lawrence in the breakout room, the music, just those little things can kind of take away the anxieties when we're doing this event. So I had a little reservations in terms of time, but once we got going, it was more about being a cheerleader and pumping us up. And as I saw that the employers were engaged, I couldn't back out, even though we had maybe about a 45% agency drop off. I had to still stay true to our mission for those who really need to staff those businesses and move forward. So I had a little reservations, not much. I overcame it quickly, and I was excited that we didn't pull out and we continued.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, that event, in addition to the marketing and registration and number of attendees. The discussions afterwards during the Q&A portion was really great to see what, resources and support was available in your region.
Yeah.
Dawn, oh, sorry.
Even to market Coursera with Olivia, and just the whole collaborative effort was just overwhelming positive, from the team that stepped out from Illinois WorkNet or stepped up, and how we just organically came together to make it happen. So it was worth every second that we put into the work. Thanks.
Excellent, thank you. So Dawn had mentioned, that they didn't have any reservations with the pandemic coming on. They came up with the idea of kind of having their own virtual job fair event, and they were talking with another organization in their area that knew about the virtual job fair tool on workNet. So then they had reached out to us, and then we coordinated that event. So our next question here, during and or after the event, what was the response from employers and job seekers who participated or watched a recording of that event? Kindy, if you want to answer that one.
Sure, and I'd love for Dave Swanson to jump into, because I think while I was kind of one of the architects of this, approach, Dave was really the engineer, if you will, to ensure that we had all of his delegate agencies were doing their outreach. They were vetting the attendees that were registering through the Eventbrite page, and then they were looking for employers. So while it was everyone on the team's job to identify employers, I was able to bring a few from some of the outreach that I've done, and but I think overall it was positive. We had a debrief session the day after we had our event on a Friday, and we had a debrief session on the Monday. And I think, while there was maybe a couple employers that didn't have as many candidates as they wanted, and there was a couple job seekers who weren't necessarily looking for jobs in those sectors, in the manufacturing sector, it was still, I think there was good matches made, and we were all extraordinarily professional. There were a couple of times that we had to wait just because we had this larger multi-employer event. But again, we had a waiting room, we had strong communication out to all of the users, and so yeah, I'd love to hear Dave's answer to that question too. Oh.
Hi, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Oh, hey. Yeah, so could you remind me of the question again?
Just go ahead. You want me to respond, Dave or David?
Oh, yeah, Dave, that question was, what was the response from employers and job seekers? Yeah.
Well, on the day of, we had a multi-employer event, and the employers, the good thing about the way that it was set up was that the employers all got a chance to participate at a base level. They got to give a presentation for 5 minutes to a room full of job seekers, and they could see the job seekers. So I like that because it kind of guarantees that the employer wouldn't walk away with nothing. They did get a chance to present their company to the job seekers. And then after that, we had a couple hours where the job seekers could have a chance to speak one-on-one inside of a breakout room. The employers that got several candidates were very happy. They expressed to me that it was great. They were happy with the actual people they got because the people they got kind of self-selected into that employer's breakout room. And for the most part, it was appropriate. And then it was only disappointing for an employer if they didn't really get to have very much contact with the job seeker. So that's just something that we're gonna, that was our first time, and it went really very well considering it was the first time. Next time I would recommend, and for anyone looking at doing this, get your, work with the SIU team. David and Daniel are extremely responsive, and they know very well how to deal with the scheduling issues that might come up and switching between breakout rooms and all those kind of annoying technicalities of Zoom. You can pretty much leave that in their hands, and they're very responsive, and they themselves have learned how to deal with that now. So you can set up an event where both the job seekers and the employers walk away absolutely happy, with the virtual event, happy that they didn't have to drive somewhere to go have contact with each other. And I think the format offers a lot of advantages.
Thank you, Dave. Tanya, what was a response that you heard from employers and job seekers after your event?
The response from the employer and job seekers was very positive. I like the idea that the job orders were kept open until mid-November or until the job order fills. And so employers are sending me other job orders that are coming that is opened up since our virtual job fair. And I'm just looping and engaging job seekers from my event and from Dave event and from other events to bring more awareness of it. So I found it to be very positive, and it kind of created a mini call center. And Dave, I talk about this in our team meetings. As we move with these virtual job centers, is creating virtual job centers within our various sectors, or call centers is what I'm saying. So people are calling, they're engaged. There's a lot of positive encouragement and testimonials from job seekers. The employers who participated for my event are engaging and following up with the job seekers. So I implemented in my plan to send an update and a weekly tracking sheet to the employers who are participating to let them know that job seekers are still interested. So it's growing the pool, and we're strategizing within our office to build more capacity for after the event, where we can have people service those job seekers without us, who are the architects, so to speak, to take on that heavy lift. So it has been overwhelmingly positive, very positive response.
Thank you. Dawn had said that the employers that they heard back from were positive and ready for another event to be held in their area so that they could participate. And then I believe this is the last question for our speakers. So Dave and Kindy, is there anything that you would do differently in planning a future event?
I think it was so great. I guess maybe just trying to start it sooner. I don't know. We talked about trying to do one again and, what that timing would look like. But I do think because we had just this very short window to from the day we decided to do it, 3 weeks out or 4 weeks out, really short timing to pull off this kind of event. But in some ways, so it was a really intense lift on everyone's part. But it was also really timely because these were active jobs that all these employers had open, and we were working with job seekers who needed employment. And I think, so I think just making sure that when the next time we do one, we're really just marking off enough time to plan and engage. We did it, but it was also, again, a heavy lift on all of our parts in terms of timing. So making sure that our calendars and everyone on the team is prepared just for that kind of intense work requirements. Although now that we've done it, it might not feel quite as intense. And the other thing is just working to make sure that the employers are ready, and some had decks at that opening hour that Dave Swanson had talked about. So some gave better presentations about their companies than others, and I think working with them to just have a little bit more consistency within that opening presentation would just, again, create a sense of just who these employers are, what their job openings are. So yeah, Dave, you.
Sure. Yeah, I absolutely agree with what you're saying, Kindy. And one thing I would add is make sure that you are prepared for 80 or 90% of your job seekers to register the day before the event. um, no matter how you set it up, that's just kind of
Right.
human psychology, and that's what they're going to do. So if your plan it can deal with that, the better your plan can deal with that, the better it's going to come off. Like for instance, if you set up the registration page with David and Daniel to collect the right information when the job seeker registers, then you're going to have all that information on the back end. When you see that burst of 50 or 100 or however many registered the day before, you'll be able to kind of filter them and do with them what you need to do. You wouldn't want to lose that burst of interest, because that is, like Kindy said, that's timely interest in jobs that are now available. So that's my one that's going to be my one area for improvement next time that I'm going to focus on, in addition to everything that you mentioned, Kindy.
Thank you. Tanya, in preparing for a future event, is there anything that you would do differently?
My sentiments exactly as with my colleagues. I would allow myself more time and more capacity, but I do believe in moving forward with incorporating what the SIU requirements are into our timeline. It's going to ease the labor intensity of it. So I would give myself more time, and if there's anything specifically that we need in terms of our local workforce area, I will have those conversations earlier on to have other partners added, like certain demographics and reporting that we need based on the parameters of our funding. I'll take more time to implement those processes. So time and being more strategic, but I really don't regret anything, because there were so many valuable lessons learned. And I see more to come, because we have more employers who are requesting these events.
Excellent, thank you.
You're welcome.
And Dawn had said, for employers who sign up and have never participated, she would suggest a required Zoom meeting with workNet and other organizations who are going to be participating in that event. And to kind of address that, we do now, I think it's about a week before the event, we'll have kind of a dry run and just kind of go over and make sure all the partners who are participating in the event, all the businesses who can make that session, that they can join, and we'll just kind of run through how it's going to go. Here's leading up to it, the start, how it's going to go. Then we'll, the presentations and the Q&A session towards the end, and answer any questions that they might have. And Dawn had also mentioned that as far as marketing, it would be helpful to have marketing items for both employers and employees about 3 weeks out. Chambers are working with multiple events all year round, so having those items up front allows them to schedule out the promotion. And that it was a great experience overall for all that were involved. I do want to thank Kindy, Dave, Tanya, and Dawn for answering these questions. I think we can go ahead and open it up to questions anyone on this call might have. There were a couple in the chat that I wanted to address. So earlier there was a question, did I hear correctly that you would do a training with a specific LWIA one-on-one? And yes, that is correct. We can meet with you and answer any questions you might have about holding a multiple employer event. We can give you, some different documents to consider, the timeline of, the work that's involved from SIU staff and what would be needed from your organizations. But yeah, we are more than happy to get on a call and discuss all the coordination behind a multiple employer event. Additionally, there was a question, if you're interested in hearing about approaches used to get job seekers to attend the event. So as far as Illinois WorkNet, goes, we have is a few different measures. We do have an email list. Sorry, let me back up there. For the larger events that, we can send out an email to, promote the event and link to the registration page for those who've registered for the event. Additionally, we do have calendar entries for the events. And so on this virtual job fair landing page, this VJF events tab, this is the workNet calendar, but it's filtered specifically to virtual job fairs. And so you can see, upcoming ones that are scheduled, or even ones that have taken place in the calendar here. Additionally, we will post on social media, Facebook and Twitter. For each event, we'll post a few different times, a week out, and even during the week of the event and day of, and, kind of reminders as well. And additionally, anyone who's following workNet on Eventbrite, they'll definitely see the registration pages of the events that are upcoming. And I think Tanya had spoken to a little bit about the efforts used to get job seekers approaching with their email list as well. Dave and Kindy or Tanya, was there anything else that you would like to add about your efforts to get job seekers to attend your event?
Yes, I would add, check into your talent pipeline, engage with your job seekers, collaborate with others. We call them shared placements within our local workforce. Promote within your organizations and your external partners. Use social media. I mean, text campaigns that's driving people to Illinois WorkNet, your email campaigns. Build a talent pipeline database and encourage your job seekers to be prepared for the opportunities. Market Illinois WorkNet as a resource for the plethora of all other information that's available, and just give time. So I would say market, because ours grew substantially larger than what I thought it was going to be. I was looking at about 150, and we far exceeded it. And that's why I said I have a small call center. So it's justifying the work that we could bring in others to do, whereas we could prepare for the heavy lift and kind of sparse out the work and create opportunities with paid work experience and so many others with this. So I found it just market and be creative and be ready to cross sell our products. I shouldn't say sell, but other business services products with our jobs, with our businesses, such as OJTs and incumbent worker training, and even paid work experience. So market.
Thank you, Tanya. Kindy or Dave, is there anything you'd like to add about?
This is Kindy. I would just say that having all of this bigger partnership, so the Bureau of Economic Development of Cook County, and then we have our entire communications department. The Chicago Cook Workforce has their own communications department. Illinois WorkNet has your communications department, and then the 8 delegate agencies that of the partnership that Dave brought to the table, they also have their own communication. So I think that was for us key, just to having an immense amount of coverage for this event.
Thank you.
For my part, the one thing I would add, and we didn't do it in our particular event, but I know from experience that if your concern is the job seekers register, but they don't show up, I don't think there's anything more effective than text for that problem. If you can text them 24 hours before and then an hour before the event, you're always gonna see a better percentage than you would otherwise.
Thank you, Dave. So if there's any questions, feel free to unmute your mic or share them in the chat. There's no other questions at the moment, but in the meantime, I do want to say I will be sharing these both of these events that Dave and Kindy had, and Tanya as well, in the chat, that I think are really great examples of how these events went, and certainly in the style that we'd like to see more of throughout Illinois as well. So I'll be sharing links to those recordings in the chat here, but if there's any questions, feel free to ask away.
David, this is Kindy. The one thing I would encourage, is I've just been like thinking about every step about it is, how do you brand this kind of multi-employer, multi-organization event? And so I'm happy, you'll see it in the recording, the slide deck that I put together that had the main organizers' logos. But in terms of like what goes on the Eventbrite, what goes on kind of the other marketing materials, I think it's a really good idea to, while you don't want to brand something, if you will, before you launch it, but you really do want to think about what that image is, or what that graphic is, what the message is, what your sector is, and making sure that all the partners, we didn't have an issue. Everyone was really open to what I requested, so that was very helpful. But I do think that just thinking through that branding is really critical.
Oh, yes. I'd like to piggyback on what Kendi just mentioned in terms of even something as small as logos. I know David and Daniel know that this was one of the challenges for some of our marketing. We had a certain pixelated logo, whereas I didn't know to collect it, or I found that if I would have had those logos in the format, it would have made it easier. We resolved it, but just having all of those different little branding nuances, having those confirmed on the front end, and then that goes feedback into time, giving yourself time, having all of those elements, and definitely following that timeline that was provided by the SIU team. That really helped me in gathering the information in what I needed and able to hit our deadlines. And then also what Dave mentioned about the text campaigns, of just hitting it at the right time, that 24 hours first, and then that other 1 hour before the event, that definitely sparks enrollment, because in our numbers, we kept a constant at about 131 to 133 attendees, but there were about over 200, I want to say about 250 people that signed in on that day. So we may have people that may not stay for the entire session, but those employers, if they know that they are available, some people will sign in just to see what a particular employer's offerings are on the day of the event, but just marketing at the right time will really spark a upsurge in attendees.
Yeah, thank you both for speaking to the marketing aspect of these events. I don't see any questions in the chat. So I do want to also make a note of, if you'd like to attend, we do have the recordings on the workNet YouTube channel. If you'd like to attend a virtual job fair event with, multiple employers, you can kind of see, how it unfolds live. We will be hosting with IDES a series of veterans VJF sessions. And so you can actually, we have them on the calendar here. You can see the different times next week that these events will be taking place. And so they're in different regions as well. And let me share this link in the chat here to register. Okay, so I just shared that in the chat, but yeah, we do have different dates for these sessions by region. So on Monday morning, the Cook County area, there will be, these employers who will be presenting, and Tuesday morning and afternoon, there's a couple different sessions for Northwest region of Illinois. And then Thursday, Northern region with these employers. And then on Friday morning and afternoon, the southern portion of Illinois, those employers will be presenting. So yeah, feel free to register and just, sit in and observe to see how some of those events are going to unfold. And so I do also want to say that this was recorded, and we're going to post this to the virtual job fair. Nope, wrong tab. Partner guide page. Here's the landing page. It has, I'm going to also share this in the chat here. Nope, didn't get all that URL. So this landing page here has a bunch of different resources for virtual job fair, from articles to previous recordings of training sessions and overviews, to list of resources that has here's just kind of general guidance for individuals and job seekers, what they can do to prepare an event and what they should do when they're attending. We have the same resources for employers, how they can prepare and attend, and what to expect. And then additionally, we have instructions for partners, employers, quick start guides for both audiences, job seekers and employers, and instructions on how to add an employer booth and how to manage that as well. And then additional resources if you're interested in planning an event, and you can send an email to info@illinoisworknet.com, and we can have a member of our staff follow up with you. And we do have some planning documents, this timeline that was referred to right here, that you can download, and it'll show the different steps involved in coordinating a larger event. And additionally, we have some marketing documents that you can use from social media, templates and samples that you can use on your platforms, to different flyers, and even a custom flyer that you can use to market your event as well. And let me do a quick screen share here. And this is a document that we've changed after the fact, but this just goes through a timeline. We typically ask 4 weeks notice of planning an event, and just getting all the details. And this document walks through what's all involved from 4 weeks out, figuring out the date and the time, the format, beginning to invite employers, having them set up booths, and just kind of starting to iron out an outline. And then 3 weeks out, kind of working on finalizing that time slot of employers presenting, and ensuring that they have the booth set up, and just kind of working with our team at SIU to schedule any Zoom trainings, or if you needed more employers to participate, we can see we might be able to help accommodate that and find employers who can join your event. And then 2 weeks out, again, Zoom training, setting up registration on Eventbrite, and then starting to post on our calendar on the employer booth information about the event that's going to be happening. And then 1 week out, providing the Zoom meeting information to employers, and posting, beginning those posts on social media to market the event. And then a couple of days before, again with social media, and sending reminder emails to employers about the event, and kind of gathering all those presentation materials from the employers as well. I don't see any other questions in the chat, but if you do have any questions, feel free to send me an email. I'll share my email in the chat here. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. And if you'd like to schedule a discussion with our staff on, coordinating an event with multiple employers in your area, we're more than happy to meet with you to go over the details and figure out, a date that would work for all of us. And so to wrap up, I do want to thank Kindy, Dave, Tanya, and Dawn for providing, answers on their experience with the multiple employer VJFs. And I want to thank everyone else who joined us this morning. And I hope you have a great rest of your day and a great weekend. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.